Feet is cold.
Hmm?
My feet is cold.
I thought you said my pizza's cold. I was like, oh, I have cold pizza too.
No, your feet could either be cold or swole.
Ew. But never both. Oh, that's so
No,
sad.
sometimes they could be cold while they swole.
Shut up. My boyfriend cool and swole.
My boyfriend hella cold and he's swole.
And swole. That reminds me of Woody, my man locked up. And wobble wobble. He's like, you got a boyfriend? Woody, my man locked up. It's like, so is that a yes or no? Do you have a boyfriend?
Like both.
It's like, I do, but he locked up. I'll see you tonight. Welcome to Rappin' Atlanta. I'm Nita Sharice.
And I'm Nikki.
And in this podcast, we have a frank, honest, and open conversation about the FX show Atlanta. As you know, we covered season 2 a while ago, and it's available on your favorite podcast app. Because we love the show so much, we decided to do a rewatch.
We have noticed that there are similar characteristics in each show, and during our discussion, we offer our impressions on what those features are. There's a That's So Atlanta moment in each episode that most clearly and accurately depicts the spirit or quirk that is Atlanta and or is life in the American South.
Dariusisms highlight the special flavor the character Darius brings to the show because he is easily one of the most layered, complex, and compelling characters on television.
There always seems to be a mystical element or some strange thing that happens beyond all logical reason and sometimes scientific explanation. We've all experienced those kind of moments.
And finally, the SGR moment is very plainly the moment in each show when shit got real and we are reminded that life is not a game and desperation has the power to motivate any and every possible action.
Today we're discussing season 1, episode 4, The Streisand Effect. Alfred finds a nemesis in a social media influencer while Ern and Darius go on a money-seeking adventure.
Okay. This episode, what do you think about Zan? Let's just start. Yeah.
Oh man, Zan is annoying as hell. Like just the way that he came running up at the beginning of the episode. He just appeared out of nowhere. And I think it was kind of like it was kind of a microcosm of the whole social media effect anyway. Like the social media influencer thing, it feels like it just came out of nowhere. And I remember when I was interviewing this one cover model for Radiant, she was telling me about, she was just like, yeah, I want to be a brand. And I'm like, bitch, what are you talking about? Be a brand? You're a person. Like, what are you trying to do for a living? Because this was several years back. And I was just like, what do you mean be a brand? Like, okay. But again, it's that generational thing, because these kids, they get it like, oh, what's your brand? What's your personal brand? And that is twisted to me because, like, how can you just come out the womb automatically seeing yourself as a product? That baffles me and it concerns me. And I can see why, the suicide rate for teenagers is going up. Because if they're a product that no one's buying, then they feel like they're less valued. Anyway, yeah, this social media thing is like, and Zan pretty much represented all of that, like towards the end of the episode, I was just like, okay, I see exactly where you're coming from and I don't knock your hustle. At the very beginning of the episode though, I was just like, yeah, I'm on Alfred's side. I want you to hurt this dude. I want, like, whether his kid is in the car or not, like, I just want you to hurt this dude.
Yeah, he was, he annoyed me in the very first scene as well because he didn't even know them, but he forced this level of comfort like this non-existent level of comfort, but he acted like he was supposed to be there, which is like, if you ever hustled anything, like whether it's like, walking into a hotel and like using the pool and like it doesn't belong to you, which I first did that with you in New Orleans. I had never done that before. And it was like all about just confidence, like just like I'm supposed to be here. I'm entitled to this space. I'm just as entitled, if not more, than you are, like person who is paying for their room. And like I'm on my break from work. I'm supposed to be here. So like when you think about it, he had that attitude. Like he not only just walked up to them, but he walked up to them and then like was in their space like he was Darius, to where when Darius showed up, he immediately like took on the role of like he was Alfred's body man, because he like stiff-armed Darius like, wait, who are you? And they're like, no, who are you? I'm like, the nerve like of him to just kind of come up and like, and it's like, no, you're the outsider. But he did not act like that. Like everything that Zan did was like, no, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, it's just to accept it. And I feel my age, because like you said, like the whole thing with brand, it sounds crazy, but these kids, like they're right. Like they're on to something. If you're any kind of freelancer right now, or like trying to get your business going, don't pay for some like old consultant. Like just talk to one of these kids and like they can get you on quick, because they just know how to just be everywhere. Like by doing things that's not even connected to like whatever it is you say that your brand is. It's just make it easy for people to find you. Make it easy for people to find you, like singing, reacting to another video.
Zan, like that, intrusive, intrusive. They're comfortable knowing intimate things or positioning themselves as if he knows intimate things about your life, kind of like listening in on the tail end, just like when Facebook is listening in on you, like Googling hair cream, and then you get all these ads in your feed about the hair cream. Zan is the physical embodiment of social media.
Yeah. He really is. And he's annoying. And they cast the perfect person, because that dude has a punchable face, and he's just like, nothing gives him pause. He doesn't seem embarrassed, or like, you never see like a moment where he's like, oh, should I do this? Like never. He's just like, hey, how you doing? Come on, man. And I think like what's off-putting about him, if I were in Alfred's brain, it would just be the fact that he borders on just like, you need to get hit, but then he's like also acting like he's your friend, but he's just like, okay, like we just had this pleasant conversation, and then he posts this video, very very funny, of like Alfred taking out the trash and then saying like, oh, I guess I'll go put my mixtapes back, and he's like standing next to the dumpster, which is so mean. And like, we are pro Alfred, but that was funny. And then just watching Alfred just get so mad, it's like, but I kind of get it, because Alfred is not really ready for him. Like this guy has him back on his heels the entire episode, because he's not ready for him. He's like, okay, I think we've come to an understanding. All right, he's cool. And then he's like pumping gas, and it's like, I thought we were cool. And it's like, he is not personally attacked. He doesn't care. He just wants a reaction. Like any troll, it doesn't matter. And so if he's being nice to you, he's just switching tacks to see what kind of response he can get for it. Then he's filming everything, so he's got so much to mind. And Alfred is just not ready for that. Like Alfred is like, is me, kind of. I mean, I think I have a better insight to it than Alfred does. I think like even then, but he's just like, okay, I thought that I at least, like I used my size, and like I was intimidating, and I'm the scary rap guy, and he's gonna stop. His hand doesn't care, and he's funny, and it's effective, because you can tell people know who Zan is, and he has merch.
The more you said about his characteristics, the more it's just reiterated. Yes, he is social media. He is all of it, because social media is not our friend. And we are all very annoyed by it, but we're all entertained by it and want it around.
And I think we should call attention to the fact too that it's 2021. We are doing this like a few years after. So if I try to put myself in the mindset that I was in when I watched it the first time, I think I was angrier, or just like I didn't understand what was going on. And not that social media didn't exist, but I think it's a perfect storm of like, the generation that I come from. And also it was around, but like not like it is now. Like your grandparents know what's a social media person is now probably. But then it was still, I think, like taking shape for the rest of us who like don't live our lives that way. And so I just remember I was a little confused. Like I didn't understand like why nobody had hit Zan yet, or like, can we get him arrested for this? Like now I'm just like, oh yeah, this is social media. And then I kind of had the insight, I think, but I was mostly just angry. It's like, why is he doing this? Like, why is he being mean? And now it's like, yeah, because he's going to get followers now. Like, it's just such a part of our life that whether we agree with it or not, it's just a thing. Like we know that's going to be on social media. Like that's the new, oh, that's World Star. Like when people used to just yell that, which actually happens. Is it
in
this
the
episode?
one?
Yeah.
No, in the first episode,
Oh,
World
okay.
Star.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Yeah.
I think of Zan reminded me, especially, later on in the episode when he's doing the antics with the kid. He reminded me of those guys that go into a grocery store and purposefully fuck with people and videotape it. Like, why are you doing that? And why haven't you been knocked out? Yeah.
They get away with it.
They get away with it. Anyhow, I looked up stats on social media influencers because I just wanted to know how much influencer marketing has grown. So let me see. In 2018, 39% of marketers plan to grow their influencer marketing budget. Now, in last year, 65% of influencer marketing budgets will increase. Like, the most common influencer budget is between $1,000 and $10,000 a year. Then the next most common is between $100,000 and $500,000 a year. So the people who are really making money off of being influencers, they're really doing it. And then there's some who they look like they're making money and they're really not. Yeah. So 17% of companies spend over half their marketing budget on influencers. That's a sizable chunk. That's almost 1/5.
Yeah.
So yeah, 89% say return on investment from influencer marketing is comparable to or better than other marketing channels. So
wow.
It's not even, it's good. It's great for businesses and it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
I mean, and you can see that just from the people. Have you ever watched Tabitha Brown's videos? I love her. She's oh my God. Black woman, gorgeous. I think she's about like our age. And she has just become this personality. Like I want to say her story is she was driving like for Lyft or Uber and she was kind of discouraged. She'd gone to LA, wanted to be like an actress or something like that. I think she's from North Carolina. She has a southern, like she is southern. When she opens her mouth, you just want to like, it's nap time. Like her voice is great. And so she was just frustrated. And I think she said she went to Whole Foods and, she got a sandwich and she's just sitting there and she just made a video. And she started just making these videos just like, you can do it. And just very, very positive and whatever. This woman just got an Image Award from NAACP. She's like a Target spokesperson now. She's making money. She filmed like moving into her very nice house in Los Angeles. It's expanded to her daughter and her husband. Like it's a whole brand. And she has catchphrases. And it's organic. Like she's, she got popular like doing her videos and then saying, but that's all right because that's your business. Okay. And so she's got like these shirts, that says, that's your business, and like earrings, and so big to where she had to make a video a couple of weeks ago and post it on Instagram and just say, if you get a link saying that this is a link to my merch store, don't put your information in there. Somebody was scamming and people were contacting her saying, you didn't send me my things. And she's like, no, Tab would never do that. Okay. My link is right here. Okay. Like, it's like, she's so calm that I'm like, she has to just like really have it out when she cuts the camera off. Cause she is calm. She is Xanax. Wow. She is brown sugar and Xanax. Like beautiful. I mean, she just, look her up. Another Tabitha thing is Brown. Like, yes. So she also started like doing like vegan meals, because at one point like she wasn't healthy, and like she had a headache, and she watched like a documentary on Netflix about eating meat or whatever, and she completely changed her life. And I think she just started to document it. Her videos make you want to go have a vegetable sandwich, which to me is like blasphemy. But when I look at it, I'm like, oh no, that looks good. It's not a speck of cow in sight, and I actually want to eat it. So effective if she's getting meat.
Yeah, that's amazing. These people are amazing, but also, like, I think what annoys me is all the wannabes who want to be on that level, and Zan is that as well. Like, while he's embodying this phenomenon, he's also like the scores of people who are trying to get put on so they can start, you know. What are baby sneakers for adults?
What?
Remember he said, yeah, we're making baby sneakers for adults.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think is like they have no traction and they're just for show, and they're basically socks.
The only thing I've seen
baby sneakers are. They're the socks that have like a little bit of something. People are like, oh, look at that. But it's for babies that can't walk. That's why it doesn't matter.
So when he says baby sneakers for adults, does he mean slippers?
I don't know. Looking at how the onesie thing became something, I would not be surprised if it were like socks with a little bit of traction on it, and then they're like made to look like sneakers.
Yeah,
but yeah, well then those are slippers. So yeah, you're right.
I love onesies. I have 2 of them. One is covered with cats, and I'm like, am I this person now? Because I feel like if I was 19 years old, nothing would be wrong with it. But as an almost 43-year-old woman in a onesie covered with cats,
You're just saying I'm done. At least like for that moment in time. If you always had that on, then it would be like, oh, you've given up just in general. But the other way is like, no one else is getting any work out of me today. Where's my drink? Where's my clicker?
Let's pause for a break from an exclusive Rappin Atlanta sponsor.
Have you ever come across an ad for a meal kit delivery service and thought, yeah, that sounds good and all, but I don't want to do shit? That's where Stockpot comes in. With its tantalizing selection of items, Stockpot allows you to mix and match entrees, sides, and desserts to your heart's content. And while all ingredients have been carefully measured and packaged, that ain't none of your never mind, because Stockpot does it all. Here's how it works. Step 1. Place your order at our secure website, where we're always sure to plan your meals with all your dietary, allergy, religious, and political considerations. Remember freedom fries? Step 2. Receive your Stockpot package delivery. Step 3. Open the Stockpot box in your kitchen and then leave immediately, and do not return to your kitchen or dining room for at least 30 minutes. Step 4. Return to your dining room and enjoy. Still on the fence? Let's listen to what just a few of our satisfied customers have to say. I took out half my braids, and when I came back in the kitchen, Stockpot was done. My wife and I argued violently the entire time, and then enjoyed a fabulous dinner. I spent 30 minutes in my prayer and devotional room, and when I came out, Stockpot had prepared the most wonderful peach cobbler. Now you tell me we don't serve an awesome God. There you have it. Stockpot is doing the damn thing. Visit stockpot.com and enter the promo code RAPPINATL, and your first delivery is free. That's RAPPINATL. Stockpot. You ain't gotta do shit.
The desperation that Ern has, I feel it. It reminds me of all of college, which is why when it culminated the way it did, I felt everything he was saying.
Yeah.
Darius too. But I was mad at Darius.
Yeah. Because I was just like, oh, he's finally going to get it and do right. We were both, I'm sure we were all thinking about Van, Lottie, you know, just them being okay and him doing the right thing, giving that girl her money, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Darius. And then he just takes him on this whole thing. What did you think about the Steve McQueen conversation that they had in the car?
Okay. First of all, it's true. Black people do not know who Steve McQueen is. But I am one of those Black people who knew who Steve McQueen was. And I was married to a man who obviously knew who Steve McQueen was.
Yes, because he fit the criteria that Darius gave.
Yes, he's Nigerian. So I was just like, okay. It's interesting. So what do you think he was trying? Because Darius was trying to say that you're one of those dudes without saying you're one of those dudes. But Ern is not one of those dudes. And I think like in previous episodes, we've been like, I thought you're supposed to have charisma with white people because you went to Princeton and you're supposed to be knowledgeable about that culture. And he's not. So what is he? Is he a poser everywhere he goes?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he's a poser wherever he goes. And then as we'll see, or actually as we saw in season 2, he wasn't the kind of poser that he needed to be in order to survive in what he was trying to do. Like, he is a poser where you look at him as like I don't want to say like middle class, but like not like Alfred. Like the way that Darius said what he said, I can tell that Darius has never struck up a conversation with Alfred about Steve McQueen, because he's like, he's not gonna know who that is. Yeah. But I think it's for the simple fact that Ern went to college. Not only did he go to college, but like he went to Princeton. Like, you know, it is an estate school. Like there has to be something that's special about you, or like that you're able to trick people with. Like you're able to, you know, code switch with the best of them, but also like back it up with something. So like maybe the grades matched up. There was an episode in season 2 where we kind of got a glimpse of their school life. And so like if anybody was going to be that person that could razzle dazzle, it would be Ern, just because he had to have something, but also he had the desire to, or maybe he was expected to. Like Alfred is who he is, and like doesn't care. Like it's just like this is what it is. And so I think that if Darius has been friends with just Alfred, now he's meeting his good friend's cousin, he's like, oh, he's that type. And so I think he just made that assumption just based on, you went to college, you went to Princeton for college. You have to know a little something about, you know, putting another part of yourself away, about being safe, worldly, cultured, like whatever that means to you. But Ern is still kind of a mystery. Like we got to give him some credit. You know, he did go to Princeton, but then when it comes to other things, it's like you don't really know anything. He's kind of a bum.
Yeah, it's like he kind of is in a social purgatory almost. He doesn't really quite fit in neatly anywhere, and he doesn't own any type of personal brand either, you know, except kind of like Loser. That's the brand that he seems to own, and it's sad. Anyway, I think is it during this conversation they're having about Steve McQueen and Wilt Chamberlain where Darius says everything's made up, niggas stay woke?
And then in the pawn shop, they see the poster of Steve and McQueen. They make reference to it. And then I love the guy, the shopkeeper, like the owner of the pawn shop, where he's like, yeah, I have that poster up there for protection because I know that if somebody's asking me about it, they're about to rob me. And then he just like looks at him and I'm like, this Steve McQueen thing must really be a thing. But I remember when I first watched it, I knew Steve McQueen's name and like could kind of picture him. But so I guess I knew who he was, but like I couldn't tell you anything else. So maybe I'm almost one of those Negroes. Like I wasn't confused. I was like, oh yeah, Steve McQueen. But I couldn't tell you one thing about him. I just know that I've heard of his name.
See, I know Steve McQueen from the movie Bullet.
Yeah, see, I just know that he's an actor.
Yeah, because there is a tight-ass car in Bullet. It's like this beautiful car. So secretly, I am also a motorhead, but I didn't have a chance to develop that. So that's where my kids get it from. They get it from both sides. But anyhow, yeah. So then the way that Darius is looking like that sword, should see this sword. Like,
do they all really like good. Those swords?
I don't know. How many guys did you date in college? There was a set of swords, like right by the collection of empty liquor bottles.
My husband. I'm not even talking about college. Right now. My grown husband. it isn't set up because somehow never quite made it, but we have them and his brother. Like what is that?
I don't know.
Because I don't care.
So he takes the sword to, all right, so this is one of my That's So Atlanta moments. There is a collection of these warehouses, it's kind of like situated on the western side of the city. And there's, like, if you're looking to buy weed, if you're looking for artists, if you're looking for hair salons, some people actually live in there. Sometimes there's animals, just like the goats and stuff.
Oh,
so
wow.
Atlanta, like that place really exists. I haven't seen one where there was a collection of Asians, but I'm sure if I go over there, like if there's a meetup and it's in that area, I'm sure that I will see a collection of Asians there the next time I go, just because. But yeah, that was very characteristic of Atlanta, these warehouse places. Yeah.
It's like a little marketplace, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, but what were they doing in there? Like that woman looked like she like packaging up drugs or something, because I just thought like, oh, like this is like one of those houses. Because I remember like looking at it like, I'm used to seeing movies where all these people are Black. And it was the same thing. Like, yeah, the music, like just
the whole hip hop vibe and culture and everything.
And the woman, I was like, it was just that all the women had shirts on. Like it just looked like, oh, this is like that part of New Jack City.
Yeah, it's just yeah, they're cutting and I don't know. I mean, they could have actually been legitimately manufacturing some good that they're selling, because there's a lot of like family-owned manufacturers. They're starting from the bottom and now they're here, and they're like producing this or that or the other, and they're not on the level to where they can pay for like a nice test kitchen or a nice factory setup somewhere. But they're like on their way. I don't know. I've seen some of everything.
It reminds me of like a flea market, except it's not in like flea markets, at least in New Orleans. The one that I'm thinking of, it's open, like it's open air. There's not warehouses. It's just like a row of tables, and it's divided by whatever, kind of like the French market.
Yeah, this is okay. So yeah, the French market. I've been to flea markets like that in California and in Florida. There's that similar thing, but this is not even.
Yeah, this is different. It looks like everything is illegal. Like right there. It's the warehouse.
It feels like everything is illegal, which is why, like, when you go over there, the fact that it's kind of so open and there's not really a lot of security is weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. I've only seen something like that here. I noted he's made a comment about Genghis Khan.
I was gonna say yes.
So I'm sure you looked that up. It's true.
Yeah. That's why it's like, Darius is random, but that's why when you made the comment about not being able to find a connection between Chamberlain and Steve McQueen, like, and that's different because usually like Darius will say random things, but then when you Google it, it's like, oh no, like they may have tweaked it, or sometimes not at all. Like, oh, he's right. I remember looking it up then. Yeah, because it just sounded so random. And then Ern was like, oh, did you read that in the Book of Racism?
It's like, no, it's true. So specifically for watchers, for viewers, when the Mongol hordes invaded Asia, the Middle East and Europe, they left behind a massive body count, depopulating many regions. With less people, large swaths of cultivated fields eventually returned to forests, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and therefore lowering the temperature of the earth. Then the whole Chinese don't like Black people comment.
Which, I mean, it's not my first time hearing that.
It's not my first time hearing that either. But it's not totally true either. You know, like this past Black History Month, when I was studying like Black history as it related to California, there were a lot of times where Blacks united with Asians, mainly to save their lives, because they were being lynched regularly in California. You know, but Black folks got with them to help them in areas, and I'm sure they returned the favor in some way, shape, or form. But for the most part, like, I'm not gonna say it's like all kumbaya between Blacks and Chinese.
It's kind of falls in line with like when people just say things like because they may have had an interaction with someone who's Asian and they're just calling them Chinese and they may not have been, like, it's kind of just putting like that whole thing over it, because when he says that, and I think Ern says something like, oh, another hit from the book of racism, and then Darius is like, he's not Chinese, because like you can tell that Ern is uncomfortable with him saying it, because it's like, well, we're here,
among
like
all these Chinese people, is
right,
like,
which I don't even know if Ern thought that the guy was Chinese. Like Darius just offered that, like saying, like, I'm not Chinese, and then the guy's like, I'm not, and so they're Korean, because and the only reason why well, I recognized it kind of, but I'm not like I know. I also knew because I had the captions on and it said Korean rap is playing. I'm like, so they're Korean.
Yeah.
My Hulu told me that they're Korean.
But then also, like, in that other episode you referenced about when he goes back to school, that same conversation about classifying Asians happens in the school. So
that is a thing, though, especially in the South.
And that's why I marked it as a That's So Atlanta moment, because what they refer to as Chinatown, it's not Chinatown. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. That is not a Chinatown. Right. It's a collection of immigrants who happen to be from different places around Asia.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's not. That's also and I know this happened a lot in season 2. That's So Atlanta things can coincide easily with that's also extremely New Orleans, because a lot of Black people are there.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing here. There is a very large market not too far from me, and it's called Hong Kong Market. And to give you a sense of how big it is, it used to be a Walmart. Like Walmart does that cute little thing where they will like leave an eyesore of a store and then go like right down the street and open a new super Walmart, and then the other gigantic building that almost no one can fill just stays there and it's empty and it looks bad. Well, and I won't say that everyone in there is Vietnamese, but like on the West Bank or in this part of Louisiana, period, there are a lot of Vietnamese people. So there was enough, families to kind of move in, and it is a market. Like there's different things that are being sold there. I don't really go often. I haven't been in a long time, so I can't say it's like, oh, it's all Vietnamese people. I would be surprised, because Vietnamese aren't the only people who are here. Like it could be a collection, but people will sometimes, like they call it Hong Kong Market, but then they'll say something where it's like, that doesn't make sense, or they're just kind of like applying that label because it's the South, and it's like there's only 3 races: Black, white, and Chinese, and it's like, no, that's not. Yes, it is. And like people just stick, it's just lazy. This show is so good for this, having like random scenes that are like, they seem very disconnected. While Ern is waiting for Darius to go and do the transaction, there's this man who's just like sitting on the ground on his phone. His legs are kind of like crisscrossed. He's just crying. It's like it looks bad. Like maybe he was robbed. Like maybe he pissed off somebody that's inside of the warehouse and he paid them back against his will. But I just remember thinking like, not Darius, Ern kind of gave him that look like, yeah, I'm just as desperate too. Like he like looked at him, kind of considered him, and I was like, oh, they're both just really, really desperate. Or that's going to be earned in a second if he doesn't get
this money.
Because man will be like, you will never see your child again. Because he kind of looked, and then it was like he wanted to like shake that image out of his head, and he turned his attention to Darius. Then that's when they got the dog, and then that's when he went to your house.
Yeah. I don't know, like all of it was just like, yeah, this is taking place in Atlanta. The goats too.
It's one of those love-hate things with the South. Like to grow up in the South is just to be like, there are things that give you comfort or like that you kind of love, and at the same time it's like you should also probably be scared of it because it's old white people. The way that man sounded, and like, I mean, because he seemed normal, like, he didn't say anything like, y'all got 30 seconds to get off my property. He didn't seem like he was trying to stand his ground. And it could be because he's a cool dude. It could be because money's involved, and like, who cares about anything except green? But the way he sounded and like how he interacted with them, he just looked like, oh, that's the cool man from church. Like I go in his Sunday school class sometimes. He's an old white man, but he's nice to us. Like I immediately liked him, and then was like, you sitting here liking him. That man probably has his hood right in the back of his truck. And I can't stand niggers, but the money's good.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people in the South where it's like, how do you think this thing and then also think this? Like, how do you? It's insanity.
Yeah, but Facebook Marketplace, I've had all kinds of encounters with people I'm pretty sure also have hoods, in their trunk or at least in the attic or somewhere. But it's fine, like they got something I want to buy or I've got something they want to buy. We have our transaction and that's it.
It's so weird. And I know I sound like somebody that like doesn't fully live in the South, but when I really stop to think about, like, I've always thought like, what if I'm having one of these Facebook Marketplace transactions, which I've had a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the person's like, okay, it's right here in the trunk. And then they're like, oh, wait, pay no attention to that. And it's like something that says January 6th, Capital Bound. It's like, pay no attention to that. And it's like, was that a roll? Oh, no. And it's like, well, that table is very nice. I'm just gonna, it's insanity. The South is insane. But I'm like, and I'm just sitting here in the middle of it. Just.
But if you think about it, like, how many businesses do we give our money to that hate Black people? Or have like
True.
funded Donald Trump who hates Black people.
It's just easier to quantify that, like when you're dealing one-on-one. Like, I'm sure, of course, all of the business, like all of the big ones, probably, yes, but it's harder to see it then because like they've got like people whose job it is to hide that, and it's working because I go there every day. This is the lady who, like, I can just tell from the Eagle and as her Facebook profile, and I know, like, oh God, this woman like wants to sleep with America.
Alfred has spent the entire day he's playing into the Streisand Effect, which is a social phenomenon that occurs when an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information has the unintended consequence of further publicizing that information, often via the internet. Hence the name of the show. So he's just kind of digging himself deeper into this hole. The whole scene in the bar, I was just like, this is so weird. What is this about? The dude that was there in the clean ass Cadillac, cleaner than a board of health. The old man, how he was telling that story, like.
My theory on him is that he wanted to be a screenwriter, but it didn't happen. He had to take over the family business, the pool hall, and every chance he gets, he just juices stories up. When it could have been something as simple as, one day I came to open up the bar, and this guy was like, hey, yo, you seen Paperboy? And I was like, no. And he drove off. But he was like, picture it. He looked different, though. And then it was just random. And then maybe this is me, but I also thought, because they continue to talk, and then, the guy, I guess, Alfred has been complaining to his friend, which I don't know if we ever see him again, or he just seemed random to me.
Yeah.
But, so they're talking, and he's just kind of like, well, what? And so they clue him in on it. Either they clue him in on it, or he's like listening. I thought it was weird that he knew who Zan was. It just didn't seem like that old man would know. It's like, man, Zan gets like,
he knew who he was and where he worked.
Yeah, that was weird to me. Like, wait, but why? And so I remember when I first watched that, like before we even, started with the podcast, I was like, oh, like, watch it's going to be, because this is when I was still thinking that Atlanta was like a conventional show. I thought it was going to be like, oh, he's that dude's like his nephew, like there's a connection there. And I was waiting for the reveal of like, hey boy, you about to take out the trash. I'll be right there. And then it's like, it's me.
If you have like the same interests, your tribe is pretty much doing the same things that you're doing.
No, I can understand that, but that kind of makes my point. What the hell common interest would they have with this whole man? The age is just so, that's why I just knew like, oh, that's his sister's niece child. And it's just like, why does this man know this? And why did he make that story so creepy? And it has not paid off.
But also this dude is a barkeep at a hangout where young people frequent, case in point, Alfred is there. Alfred's not old.
He isn't, but like next to Zan, Alfred seems like, I don't know, like he remembers when the Temptations dropped their first album. Like,
no, Alfred is not.
No, I know that. No, I know that. But Zan seems like such a little twerp that it's like, I don't know. That has always just like the way he described that guy and made that story really, really scary, which, like I think that we've kind of talked about just on our own before. I think that was just to kind of shed light on like the other life that Alfred is living. Like, yeah, he's trying to make it, as a rapper, but he's a drug dealer. So that's kind of like that kind of thing happens. You live in this life, there's gonna be people that are, you don't always successfully thwart every threat. Like sometimes, somebody's gonna best you. And what that kind of showed to me was it's like, no, I really do have to make it so that I don't have to worry about these kinds of attacks anymore, because he looked spooked, like he looked spooked, which kind of heightened the like I need to make myself something, and this annoying little gnat is making me like look stupid, which could take away, like if enough of that happens when you're not solidified yet, it can kill you. Like if people just associate you with like, I guess my mixtapes are going back where they belong, and like you're not in the zeitgeist yet, where people are like, I don't care, like he doesn't have stands yet. Like where people are like, I don't care what y'all saw him do. Like he doesn't have that yet. He's just like a local whatever.
But then again, he kind of does. Like he has a local stands. And I have to say, like in Atlanta, the local stands go hard, for just like in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think local, if it's good. Like I guess too, what I'm thinking about is just like that may be true, but like Alfred doesn't have it, like it isn't showing up in his pocket yet, which is why he needs to do the dangerous thing, which now has this very dramatic bartender telling him about somebody that may threaten that. Yeah, like he described that character so intently. I'm like, can you please make him show up in season 3, because I know what he looks like.
Yeah, so we can, but it might never happen. Like, there are so many like loose ends,
Right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
While Alfred is in the car with this fool, he notices this little boy. He makes reference to the little boy, like, I don't want to do this in front of your son. And it's not his son. He says it's his business partner. That still makes me mad, because that's somebody's child. It's just, who the hell is Zan? And he's just riding around with this little boy. He says, let him hear your catchphrase. I kind of forgot what the boy said.
I'm gonna put my
No, that was the second one.
Oh.
He said something, it was something short, like, bitch, I don't know. Like it was something dumb. And then he was like, let him hear the other one that we use for such and such. And then that's when it's just one long beat. And like Alfred, or the actor, does a great job of just his face, like reacting to every different part of like man, what is going on?
So
then he sends the boy out with the box of pizza. And I mean, maybe it's because I'm a mom or just a human. I'm just like, this little boy can get snatched up into that house, never to be seen again. What are y'all doing? And so Alfred's worried about it, and he turns around and he's just like, yeah, man, that's crazy. He's just recording and it's just messing the guy. Yes, the guy who answers the door with no shirt. I'm like, he's gonna rob him. He's gonna, and then he just robs him. The boy's like, hey, wait, he's not helping him. It's like Zan is just a spectator to this foolishness, and Van doesn't care. Like I'm saying Zan does, he will go to any lengths necessary to get those likes and get those shares. And then and that's when Alfred, which when I saw him get out of the car, I thought he was going to go and rescue him. But then I was kind of thinking that might be kind of messy, because he, he's already tied up in some stuff, and he just walked off. And I was still like low key kind of like, I hope that little boy is all right. But like black kids just don't get to be kids. Like he had this air about him. I think the little boy will be just fine, but he shouldn't be that way. Like, so
I mean, that was disturbing. That whole little scene was just disturbing. Right when he walked up to the car and that little boy's in the car, none of the windows were rolled down. It's hot in Atlanta.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so I was disturbed by that, and I'm just like, that child looks nothing like this dude.
Yeah.
Whose child does he have? Also, like, just going back to the way he looks, Zan's racial ambiguity, I think, was very purposeful, and again speaks to that whole social media thing, where it's like that there's black Twitter, but then just Twitter is anything and everyone, and they're not all your friends. Anyway, his whole commentary on exploitation, it was spot on, And it
right.
kind of, it reminded me of the Addison Rae and the TikTok appropriation deal.
You mean the latest one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not the first time that's happened.
It's not the first time, but I'm just like, okay. Like, are we kind of setting ourselves up for this? But it's like we can't do anything. Like, we can't just showcase whatever it is our talent is without it being exploited, without it being appropriated and exploited.
But also, what we do is now not just looked at as a Black thing. It is the culture now. It is the thing. And that's why, like, when I talk to younger people, you know, there's some of the things that I might call attention to, and they think like, you know, oh, you're being too, you know, like it isn't about a Black thing, a white thing, it's just dance. And it's just, and I really do believe that because like when I was their age, there was a thick line, like that's the heavy metal music. When someone would say rock and roll, like teenagers, rock and roll, you know, white is always the default. It wasn't that for us, but okay, like we'll just go over here and, you know, and just be Black and like, and have our Black thing. And it's still like that. But the default culture, like what is popular, what is hot is our stuff. It's always been, but like now it's center stage to where like 85-year-old people are aware of rap behind, like past the my name is Grandpa and I'm here to say, like even older people know, like, because there was a time like when rap was like just ours, like people were like, oh, I can rap, kids, this is biology and cell mitosis and it's like even old white people now know that like no, rap, it sounds different because it is the popular thing. So if you are trying to get likes and shares and follows off of like what is a popular culture, it just so happens that it's a thing that we do and that like we brought to the forefront and has like all of its roots in the South. Yeah, it was started in the North, but all of y'all came from here, like for the most part. And so it started here. And I just think it's like this not so perfect storm of you think that we were exploited before and like stolen from before. It's going to really happen now because everything is no longer looked at as like, oh, it's just Black. It's like, oh, well, that's pop. And so, and that was what, 3 years ago.
We created rock and roll. We created the punk genre, you know, that came out of Detroit. You know, electronic house and all of that came from, you know, northern hoods.
Yeah.
And then going back down to the South, that's based on, you know, gospel, that's based on blues. You know, the
bluegrass came out of and all that
Thomas
stuff.
Dorsey's gospel music came out of Ma Rainey's blues, you know, from Atlanta. So like I don't know, this when kids say, oh, but it's just pop culture, like that lets me know they don't know enough about Black history to recognize what's happening. And that makes me so upset.
They get the dog and Ern is like, you can see him like with each transaction, he's like, all right. And then Darius always has like one more thing, like, okay, we got to make one more stop. And so then they go, he gives the dog away. And then Ern is just like they get in the car and Darius is so pleased with himself. Like everything went like the way it was supposed to go. And Ern is just like, where's the money? And then that's when he explains to him, no, you know, he's going to take that dog and read it with this dog. And I think he said it's going to be like $2,000 a pop and you're going to get half. And he was like, man, he's so proud of himself. He's like, man, you want to come up and such and such. And Ern is just like, I'm poor. Like, I need this money now. And he's like, but I asked you if you like wanted more money. And that's when I got pissed with Darius. Like, he meant right now, fool. It is true. But you know, he should have known he wasn't talking about that, which made me think, does Darius, what we know about Darius is that like he said that he's a Nigerian, so it's like, are you're just coming at this from a different way? Like, did you either he didn't know how desperate Ern was, or he just has a different way that he deals with his desperation? Because he didn't seem to get it until Ern like completely blew up, and he was just like, oh. And then he like gives him his phone and says trade that, and Ern's like, no, and he's like, no, I get a new one every month so that they won't track me. Which
makes me wonder, like seriously. Why did you need Ern's phone to do all of this, which you could have just done it with your own phone?
Because he has tunnel vision. It's like, well, Ern said this thing about the phone. He didn't think that far. For whatever reason, he also thought that Ern would be cool getting money later. Ern is poor. He's like living on the sofa. He needs the money now.
I know many people who are good at doing that barter thing to come up, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I recognize that. I would say I know many immigrants who do that specifically. So that's
a difference there too.
That felt like an immigrant hustle. But I don't know, like, and I watched it again to see if I was going to be upset with Darius in the same way. And when he was in the pawn shop, he was like, yo, if you need the money, take the money. He said it.
I know, but we've also both discussed, like, yeah, but Ern was desperate. Now, I really feel like if he was able to break Ern off a couple hundred and then told him about that, Ern would be down. But right now, as for me in my house, I need something right now. I need it right now.
It was
he wasn't Ern's thinking decision. Of that.
It was ultimately Ern's decision. So I felt like,
no, that's like penalizing somebody for making a decision based on some information that they didn't have. You know, Darius is random as hell. If I said, I need this money, I'm going to go, you know, like I'm going to trade up this phone. Like, that's why Ern was always like, where else are we going? He was looking for the typical transaction. I don't have any money. I'm about to bring these index cards, you know, these special cards, and they're going to give me the money. I got the money. I'm going to go do this now. No one thinks, all right, time for a multi-step journey, unless they know about doing that. And like you just said, like, it sounds like an immigrant thing. Ern's not an immigrant. Like, he's not thinking that way. And it's very smart, but I would have been like, okay, wait, I actually do want to do that. Let me see if I can go hustle what I need right now, but I want in on that because that money's going to come at the right time because you have some things that haven't come up yet and you're going to like that. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's great, but he made that decision based on, I thought I was going to give you this, you want to give me money. So
that's why I was like, okay, if Darius could get a new phone every month or he gets a new phone every month, right. Why did he just think to just go ahead and do that?
He's still Darius. You remember? Okay, it's destiny. Going. Folks, that's a season 2 reference.
and honestly, the fact that Darius was celebrating so hard about everything coming to fruition, he probably had no idea that it was going to actually come to fruition. There was a lot of things that had to align, you know, in order for all these things to happen.
Which is even more messed up.
Because he's fucking with Ern's money like that.
Yeah. He's like, whoo. Like, that's like you saying, like, yeah, come on, I'm telling you. And then it happens and you're like, wow. And I'm like, why are you so this worked out, but you left out the risk. You're like, shit worked. It's like, first and last time, dude.
Like, I told you this was a sure thing, but no, it was definitely not a sure thing.
I'm awesome. That's when you're like, yeah, thank you. We're not doing this ever again. Can't trust it. But I loved how Darius, like after Ern agreed to take the phone, he went, yay, we're friends now. That was so sweet. But then it was like, I feel like Darius pisses people off a lot. And when they put up with him, he's like, all right, I put you through it and you're still here. You're my friend.
Yeah, like that's his friend.
Oh my God. So that was actually my well, I had a few Dariusisms, but it was the thing about Chinese people being short because of Genghis Khan. Mm-hmm. Shit got real when Alfred literally said to Zan, shit is real. And he was like, he was basically, you know, telling him like, this is not a game, you know, like people get desperate. He basically is like the thesis of the entire show. And then he like pours his heart out and then it's like, yeah, and I'm exploiting that. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh, he's going to snap his neck. And he like never killed him. But yeah, that was the SGR moment. The realism, I couldn't really pin down something that I thought was like,
oh, the mystical element.
Yeah. I said.
Yeah, I didn't find anything mystical about that.
Just strange Darius, just in general, just Darius.
That's about it.
But yeah.
You heard all of that. So Atlantis, there were many. It was a very
Yes.
Atlanta episode. My SGR moment was pretty much when you come to the end and you see how like Ernest just deflated, like, I really needed this money. You know, I'm broke. I felt for him. But,
Donald Glover did a great job, just like with that part, because I was feeling it too. It just reminded me of working at Old Navy, and just like you just never had enough, like never, like not even for simple things. It's like it wasn't like I paid all my bills and I have no money. It was like I just want a sandwich.
I think that's the episode.
I think it is. I for some reason made this random note. Ern is wearing a shirt that says "Keep on keeping on." Like, I watched this episode like 12 times. I put random notes, and then under it says Darius is random as hell.
Thank you for watching. Rappin' Atlanta is recorded and produced by Nita Sharice and Nikki Ebro. Our theme music is Joy Clark's Galaxy Groove, performed by Joy Clark. Discover more about this talented artist at joyclarkmusic.com. Rappin' Atlanta's artwork is created by Prime Vice Studios. Learn more about this intellectual property development agency at primevice.com. You can find us on your favorite podcast player as well as YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and follow Rappin' Atlanta on Twitter and Instagram at Rappin' Atlanta.